You sit down and tell yourself, this time I'm going to focus. You open your laptop, maybe grab a coffee, open your book or your work, and then nothing happens. Your mind starts drifting. You check your phone. Just for a second, scroll through notifications, maybe open Instagram, YouTube, or TikTok, then switch to another tab, then another, and before you even realize it, 20, 30, sometimes 60 minutes are gone. The most frustrating part, you know you're wasting time. There's that voice in your head saying, come on, get it together. But you still can't lock in. So you try to force it. You push harder. You tell yourself to focus. And somehow, it only gets worse. Here's the truth most people in today's fast-paced, hyper-digital world don't realize. Your problem isn't distraction. Your problem is how your brain has been trained. Here's the problem. In the US, where everything is built for speed, fast content, instant notifications, constant updates, your brain adapts to that environment. As Newport, author of Deep Work, explains, the ability to focus deeply is becoming rare at exactly the same time it's becoming more valuable. But focus isn't something you magically turn on. It's something you build through repetition and environment. Think about your daily routine. You wake up and immediately reach for your phone. Emails, Slack messages, social media, news updates. It's a constant stream of stimulation. According to Carr in The Shallows, this kind of behavior rewires your brain to skim information instead of engaging deeply with it. Your attention span gets shorter, your tolerance for boredom drops, and your brain gets used to constant switching. So when you finally sit down to do something meaningful, study, work on a project, build something important, your brain resists. It's not used to stillness anymore. It's like asking someone who's been sprinting all day to suddenly sit in silence for hours. It feels uncomfortable, almost painful. And that's why you struggle, not because you're lazy, not because you lack discipline, but because your habits have trained your brain to seek distraction. For example, let's say you sit down at 8 p.m. to study for your exam. You open your book, but within 2 minutes you check your phone. One notification turns into 10 minutes of scrolling. Then you switch to YouTube just for a quick video. And suddenly, it's 9 p.m. You feel guilty, but repeat the same cycle the next day. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, puts it perfectly. You don't rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. If your system is built around constant interruptions, your focus will always break. On the other hand, neuroscientist Andrew Huberman explains that focus works like a muscle, or more precisely, a neural pathway. The more you practice sustained attention, even in small amounts, the stronger that pathway becomes. So let's get one thing straight. You're not broken. You're not weak. You're simply running a system that's designed for distraction. And the good news? Systems can be changed. Just like you trained your brain to constantly switch, you can train it to stay, to focus, to go deep. And in a world where most people are distracted all the time, the ability to focus isn't just a skill, it's a competitive advantage. But here's what nobody tells you. First, you need to understand something simple but powerful. Focus is not about doing more. It's about removing everything else. That's where most people get it wrong. In today's world, especially in places like the US, we're constantly told to optimize everything. Download more productivity apps, try new systems, stack more habits. But real focus doesn't come from adding more tools or strategies. It comes from subtraction. Less noise, less distraction, less unnecessary input. Because your brain has limits, and right now, most people are operating in a constant state of overload. Think about a typical day. From the moment you wake up, your attention is pulled in different directions. Notifications, emails, social media, messages, videos, deadlines. Your brain is forced to process hundreds of tiny decisions every hour. Over time, this creates what researchers call decision fatigue, where your mental energy drains faster than you realize. As a result, your brain naturally looks for the easiest escape. That's why scrolling feels effortless. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are designed to give you quick dopamine with almost zero effort. But deep work feels hard because it actually requires energy and focus. Think about a typical day. From the moment you wake up, your attention is pulled in different directions. Notifications, emails, social media, messages, videos, deadlines. Your brain is forced to process hundreds of tiny decisions every hour. Over time, this creates what researchers call decision fatigue, where your mental energy drains faster than you realize. As a result, your brain naturally looks for the easiest escape. That's why scrolling feels effortless. Platforms like TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube are designed to give you quick dopamine with almost zero effort. But deep work feels hard because it actually requires energy and focus. The idea is straightforward. You don't try to focus for an hour or aim for perfection. You only commit to 10 minutes. That's it. No pressure, no expectations. Just 10 minutes of focused work. Before you start, you remove distractions. Put your phone away, close unnecessary tabs, and clear your workspace. Then define one clear task, not something vague like study, but something specific like read the first 2 pages of chapter 3. This clarity reduces mental friction and makes it easier for your brain to engage. Once you start the timer, you go all in for those 10 minutes. At first, your mind might resist. You might feel the urge to check your phone or switch tasks. That's normal, but after a few minutes, something begins to shift. Your brain starts to settle and the resistance fades. By the time the 10 minutes are over, you're often already in a state of flow. And this is the key moment, because once you've started, continuing becomes much easier. What began as 10 minutes often turns into 20, then 30, and sometimes even longer without you forcing it. This approach works because it aligns with how your brain naturally operates. Big tasks feel intimidating and create resistance, while small tasks feel manageable and safe. By lowering the barrier to entry, you remove the biggest obstacle, starting. Experts like James Clear and BJ Fogg emphasize this principle. Make it easy to start, and consistency will follow. You don't need to rely on motivation, because motivation is unreliable, and you don't need extreme discipline, because discipline alone burns out over time. What you need is a system that works with your brain, not against it. You can apply this method to almost anything. If you want to study, don't aim for hours. Start with 10 minutes. If you want to work out, don't plan a full session. Just commit to a short walk. If you want to create content, don't try to make something perfect. Just write or brainstorm for a few minutes. Most of the time, you won't stop at 10 minutes. The simple act of starting builds momentum, and momentum keeps you going. In the end, focus is not something you force. It's something you build. It grows through small, consistent actions over time. So instead of pushing yourself harder, start making things easier. Because the truth is simple. You don't need more motivation. You need less resistance. And once you understand that, everything begins to change. And here's where everything changes. Now, something interesting happens, and most people completely miss it. At first, when you sit down to do focused work, it feels uncomfortable, almost unbearable. Your mind becomes restless and you feel a strong urge to escape. Thoughts like, let me just check my phone for a second, or I'll start properly in a few minutes, begin to appear. This is not laziness. It's your brain reacting to a sudden drop in stimulation. For example, if you sit down to study after scrolling social media for an hour, your brain instantly feels bored and starts craving that same quick entertainment again. But this time, instead of giving in, you do something different. You stay. You sit with the discomfort without escaping. At first, it feels difficult, and your brain keeps pushing you to quit. However, after a few minutes, something begins to change. The mental noise starts to fade and the urge to check your phone becomes weaker. Then, almost without noticing, you find yourself getting absorbed in your work. For instance, you might struggle during the first 5 to 10 minutes of reading, but by 15 to 20 minutes, you are fully engaged and focused. This is the stage most people never reach because they quit too early. The key to this transformation is repetition. Every time you resist distraction and stay long enough, you train your brain to adapt. At first, you may only be able to focus for 10 minutes, but with consistent practice, it gradually increases to 20 minutes, then 30, and eventually even an hour. This doesn't happen through force, it happens because your brain learns and adjusts over time. Just like going to the gym, where your strength improves gradually, your ability to focus also grows with practice. The key to this transformation is repetition. Every time you resist distraction and stay long enough, you train your brain to adapt. At first, you may only be able to focus for 10 minutes, but with consistent practice, it gradually increases to 20 minutes, then 30, and eventually even an hour. This doesn't happen through force. It happens because your brain learns and adjusts over time. Just like going to the gym, where your strength improves gradually, your ability to focus also grows with practice. Over time, this creates a powerful shift. Your brain begins to associate focus with satisfaction and progress instead of discomfort. As a result, it starts craving deep work rather than distraction. What once felt difficult becomes natural, and concentration turns into your default state instead of something you have to force. How do you fix it? Simple, by tracking progress. Every time you complete a 10-minute focus session, you mark it somewhere, whether it's in a notebook, a habit tracker, or even just a simple checklist. It might seem small, almost insignificant, but it has a powerful effect on your brain. When you can actually see your progress, it creates a sense of satisfaction, and that satisfaction naturally builds motivation. For example, if you study for 10 minutes on day 1 and mark it, then repeat it on day 2 and day 3, those small check marks start to add up. Suddenly, you're not just trying anymore, you're someone who shows up consistently. That visible progress creates momentum. And momentum is everything. It turns effort into habit, struggle into consistency, and consistency is what truly changes your life. Not motivation, not hype, not inspiration, but the ability to show up again and again. Now think about how much time you've spent waiting to feel ready, waiting for the perfect mood, the perfect time, or the perfect energy. Be honest. How much has that actually helped you? Probably not at all. That's because waiting doesn't build focus. Action does. As James Clear says, you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. If your system is based on waiting until you feel like it, then you'll stay stuck in the same place. But if your system is built on taking small, consistent action every day, everything starts to change. The formula is simple. Small action, repeated daily. So instead of overthinking, start with one thing, just one thing you've been avoiding. Maybe it's studying, working out, coding, or reading. Set a timer for 10 minutes, remove all distractions, and begin immediately. Don't plan it perfectly, don't wait for the right mood. Just start. It won't feel perfect, and that's exactly the point. Real progress almost always feels uncomfortable in the beginning. That discomfort isn't a sign that something is wrong, it's a sign that you're growing. As Andrew Huberman explains, your brain begins to rewire itself through repeated focus. Every time you sit down and do the work, even for a short period, you're strengthening your ability to concentrate. Day by day, session by session, it becomes easier. What once felt difficult starts to feel normal. Eventually, focus stops being something you struggle to achieve and becomes something you naturally have. And that's when everything changes, because when you can truly focus, you can learn faster, work deeper, and build better results. Most importantly, you gain control over your time. And when you control your time, you control your life. So stop waiting, stop overthinking, and stop distracting yourself. Start small. Start now, because your future is built on what you choose to focus on today.